Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. If you met my dad, you would probably think he's rich. You see, my dad is in his late 50s and living his absolute best life. He lives in an apartment close to the beach, travels all the time, and eats at the fanciest restaurants. And if you ask him about it, he will simply say that he made the right investments. What he calls the right investments was simply putting all his money towards my big sister's education and now living off an allowance she sends him. She is really successful and pays for my college and also gives the same benefits to Mom. A couple years ago, he married my stepmom, Mary, who already has 2 kids from a previous marriage, and now they're getting a divorce. The problem is that Mary thought she would be getting a lot of money with the divorce. She even said enough so she could buy her own apartment and pay for her son's college. Now imagine her surprise when she discovered that my dad has not even half of what she expected. The apartment and the car are in my name, and my sister's legal team has protected it all from her when they got married, as my sister always hated her. She came knocking on our door screaming at him and demanding an explanation, and got even more furious when he said, "I made the right investments," in his always so calm voice. Now she's sending me a whole lot of texts demanding I tell her where all the money comes from, saying that her kids can't afford college and they have nowhere to go without the money. But in my opinion, that's none of her business. My friend disagrees and thinks she needs to know before making herself more of a fool. For a little bit of context, my sister is much older than me. My parents were in college when they had her, and she was a gifted kid. The girl is a complete genius who has a very high-paying job and practically dominates her field. On top of that, she married a guy that comes from a famously old money family in our country, so her money is basically all spending money. She bought Mom and Dad their own apartments in the same complex, close to her house and my college. Gave them each a car, and they share a cleaner, and gives them a monthly allowance. Not much since she pays for all the rest, but enough so they can live comfortably. She also loves family holidays and gatherings, so she makes sure we all go with her to a lot of fancy trips, and is basically always visiting Mom and Dad and picking me up from college for girls' night. My parents have a nice relationship. They were both very young and simply grew apart, but it's a reoccurring joke that they still act like a married couple. English is not my first language, so I'm sorry for any misspellings or confusion. OP is protecting her sister's interests and respecting her father's privacy. OP's stepmom assumed she'd get a significant payout without understanding the true financial situation. It's not OP's job to explain where the money comes from, especially since she's being aggressive and unreasonable. OP's priority is her family, and she's doing the right thing by keeping this information private. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Not the a-hole. It's your dad's burden to tell her or not. You should just block her number. Not the a-hole. Definitely the right move to not say anything. To me, it sounds like Mary only married your dad for the money. So block her number and let her make a bigger fool of herself. Not the a-hole. It's not your responsibility to share private financial details with your stepmom. If she's upset about the divorce settlement, that's between her and your dad. She should focus on her own financial situation instead of prying into yours. So, this is a bit of a weird situation, and I'd like to hear your take on it. My mother has been a single parent ever since my father passed away almost 15 years ago. She hasn't been dating that much after him. My dad's death was hard on my mom and the rest of us, but for the last 4.5 years, she has been seeing a very nice and very pleasant man. We all expected her to marry Nick, her boyfriend, so their engagement wasn't a surprise. Their wedding is 2 months from now. A few weeks ago, I was accompanying my mother on a visit to her future in-laws. I've met them on several occasions throughout the years, and they were all pretty nice and welcoming people. Of course, the topic of the wedding came up, and everyone seemed to want to know how excited my mother is for taking their last name and officially becoming a part of the family. To which my mom replied that she can't wait, which is true. She is absolutely excited. Then the question turned to me. Apparently, I am expected to change my last name as well and take my stepfather's last name. I've tried to explain to them that I don't plan on changing my last name and that I will continue carrying my dad's name. Not the answer everyone expected, given the weird, shocked looks they all gave me. But the topic changed and everyone resumed talking about something else, so I didn't think too much about it. Fast forward to a couple of days ago, and I'm on the phone with my mom. We are talking for some time when my mom asks me if I'm going to change my name. I told her that this is my way of remembering my late father, and that I want to continue carrying his name so his legacy can live on, so to speak. I listed a bunch of other reasons for my choice, and this is when she blew up on me. She said that I am ungrateful, and then started listing all the things she did for me through the years, how unhappy she was, how grief-stricken she was, and now that she finally can smile again and be happy, I am ruining all of it. Apparently, the in-laws have been really pushy about this subject, and my mom can't take it anymore. I've told her that I want her to be happy, and my mom just said, "Then ducking do it. It's a stupid name," and hung up on me. My mom hasn't been returning my calls in days now. I know that she is upset with me, and I don't know how to fix this. I don't want to lose my father's name. Is it even something common for kids to take their stepdad's name? I want my mom to be happy. She deserves to be happy. But I don't understand what my dad's name has to do with all of this, and why it's all of a sudden such a big deal for my in-laws to have their last name. As if names define a family. How should I approach this? Do I talk to my mom about this? To my new stepfamily? I have never heard of any adult changing their last name simply because their mother remarried, even if their own father had never been in their lives. I'm sorry she's doing this, and I can't understand how she could even ask you this. I think you should keep your father's name. Not only is it his name, it's yours. There's absolutely no reason for you to change it. This is not common at all, and I would be extremely offended if someone asked me to change my name from my deceased father. Your father died, but he still existed. It's a completely personal choice that no one but you gets to dictate. Your mom and her in-laws are 100% in the wrong here. My fiancé and I got engaged over the summer and will be getting married next year. Originally, our plan was to pay for our wedding ourselves, but my parents offered to help us, partially because they wanted to invite more people than we could afford to host. We accepted their offer, and I have not stopped regretting it. Because my parents are contributing financially, I have made some compromises with them. Without going into too much detail, we have reached agreements on venue, number of guests, including traditional elements, and a few other minor things. Generally all fine. But crap has hit the fan. My fiancé and I are both vegan, and it is something we take very seriously. Please do not turn the comments into a discussion over whether or not you agree with this lifestyle choice. And want the food at our reception to be entirely plant-based so that it is in line with our values. My dad doesn't love the fact that the food at the reception will be vegan, but realizes that we are adults and our wedding is about us and our relationship. So he has expressed his viewpoint, but will still be contributing financially as promised. My mother, however, seems to have lost her mind over this. She has sent me multiple texts and emails saying that she disagrees with my lifestyle choices. She won't allow me to use the wedding to make a political statement. She will be embarrassed to have her friends served vegan food. She is going to sneak in deli sandwiches so that people have something to eat. I am being selfish. The wedding isn't about me. She will not be coming. When I called my dad crying because my mom had just sent me an email berating me and threatening not to come to my wedding, she accused me of not caring if she was there and pretending to be upset to try and manipulate my dad. My mom also emailed our caterer behind my back saying that she is the only person allowed to make changes to the menu and there has to be meat and fish in every course. Demanded that my dad make my fiancé and I pay him back for the money he has put down and threatened to divorce him if he didn't help her bring sandwiches. Started emailing friends telling them that she won't be attending our wedding. Called my brother and screamed at him for 40 minutes about how I am ruining her event. I am so confused by her actions and so hurt that she would choose not to come to my wedding for any reason, but especially something like the food we're choosing to serve. I also realize that the argument could be turned around on me and my fiancé. Well, you think the food shouldn't be a big deal. Why not just serve meat and make everyone happy? But I don't think we should have to compromise our values on the day of our wedding. And there is also a part of me that feels like my mother is being an emotional terrorist. And if we give in to her on this, She will think that she can control our whole lives by yelling and screaming at us. I basically feel like my relationship with my mom has been irreparably damaged, and I don't know where to go from here. I guess what I'm looking for is 1. Short-term advice on how to deal with crazy family members and do damage control for my wedding. How to move forward long-term with this situation between us. Edited to add a few things. We offered to pay my dad back. He declined. He wants to help us pay for the wedding, and I don't want to deny him that because my mother is being crazy. We will not be serving our guests a meal of steamed kale and sand. The menu isn't 100% set in stone, but I copied a response to someone's comment earlier asking about the menu. We want to focus on things that meat eaters will be more accustomed to, like pasta dishes with vegetables, or grilled portobello mushrooms, stuffed peppers, etc. for main courses. Bruschetta, veggie pot stickers, stuffed grape leaves, falafel bites with hummus as past appetizers. We aren't about to ask our non-vegan friends and family to eat a meal full of meat alternatives and vegan cheese substitutes. Maybe one option with that in it for our other vegetarian, vegan, more adventurous guests, but for the most part, it will be things that meat eaters eat when they aren't eating meat. You gently, or not so, tell her to duck off. You already made compromises with her and your father because they are helping to pay, but that doesn't mean she gets to be the dictator of your marriage. She doesn't get to have a say on everything you plan for the wedding. That's ridiculous, especially if they just gave you a specific amount to use for anything. Ultimately, this is your day, not hers. Mom, I've compromised with you and Dad on a number of things in our marriage, but ultimately, this is our marriage, and we want it to represent our values. We are vegan, and we don't want non-vegan options at our wedding because we're celebrating us, not you. It really hurts my feelings that getting your way with the food options is more important than attending your own child's wedding. If I had known you would try to be so controlling about our choices, I wouldn't have accepted your money. I guess it's up to you if you want to come, but we are not budging on this. Hope to see you there. Also, people have some crazy misconceptions that vegan food is gross or disappointing or bland. It's close-minded. There are so many delicious vegan options that don't even seem vegan. Hi, fellow bride here. If your mom is contributing money toward the wedding, then I feel she should get a say in what is served. That said, there is lots of delicious vegan food out there. Maybe ask her to have an open mind and go to a tasting. If she really hates it still after that, I'd consider either A, paying for vegan food myself, or B, making a few concessions and allowing her to pay. While I understand you have strong feelings on veganism, I think it would behoove you to look at this from a party planning standpoint. Many guests are not vegan and are probably going to be displeased with your menu. Yes, this day is about you. Yes, you can make the argument that if they don't like it, they don't have to come. But from a hosting standpoint, it's probably not the best decision. I see where your mother's frustration is coming from. That being said, if you feel this strongly about the topic, hold firm to your position. I would fully anticipate your mother will come to your wedding, but kind of believe her that she'll be sneaking in sandwiches or attempting to make last-minute changes to the wedding. My final bit of advice: if you don't want any of your mother's suggestions, then do not accept the money from them. Pay them back and have the wedding of your dreams on your terms. My husband, Scott, and I have been married 2 years, together for a total of 5. We've had a really good relationship, in my opinion, and we've always been able to work any problems out. Scott grew up in a military family, which caused him to make friends with other military kids. They've all stayed really close, even being in each other's weddings. We still live in the area Scott grew up in, but others have moved away. They come back throughout the year, but only once a year do they plan to all come back at the same time. This year, as fate would have it, I was scheduled for a business trip out of the country during the week they would be in town, Monday through Sunday. I was bummed because I love all of Scott's friends and their wives. On to the problem. My wedding ring is something that is extremely important to me. The diamond is from my mother, who passed away when I was 17. Scott was able to customize it so that he could have an input, and it turned out beautiful. It's definitely my most prized possession. When I go on trips, vacation, I leave the ring at home and just take a generic band to wear. I'm always afraid it'll get lost or stolen. I usually store it in one of those stand-up mirrors that doubles as a jewelry case. But, silly me, left it in a container on my nightstand. Scott decided to have his friends and their wives at our house Wednesday night. He took off the rest of the week to spend with them. Before they came over, I asked Scott to put my ring away so it wouldn't get lost. He said he was getting in the shower and then he would. I assumed he did. Well, they all had a little too much to drink, dancing, playing games, etc. And somehow, my ring disappeared. When I got home yesterday, I asked him where my ring was. He apologized and said he forgot to put it away, so it must be where I left it. It wasn't. I spent hours looking for it. Scott ended up digging through our garbage cans and found it, inside of an empty chip bag. It was smashed, ruined, and the diamonds had fallen out. My mother's diamond was gone, but all other diamonds were found in the bag. We can't find it anywhere. We even checked the vacuum, just in case he sucked it up. I was devastated. I know it was my fault for leaving it out, but I asked Scott to put it away for me. He was also very upset. He was mad that someone threw it away without saying anything. We're not sure if it was knocked off and stepped on or what. Scott ended up texting his friends and asked if anyone knew anything about it. Everyone denied it, and Scott said there was no way he would have done that. I believe him. He got a text later from one of his friends that said, "Hey man, I asked Jane, his wife, and she said she did see Caroline looking at it toward the end of the night. Doesn't mean she knows where it is, but that's the last person to be over by it." Scott asked Caroline's husband if she had seen it, and he said that she didn't touch it and she wasn't anywhere near the ring. Now, I'm furious over this. I feel like someone is hiding something from me. Every piece of the ring is there except for my mom's diamond. It's very good quality. Not only that, but someone went out of their way to hide the ring by putting it in a chip bag and then crumpling it up. Scott wants to just replace the ring, but I want to know who did it and if they have the diamond. I wouldn't ask them to pay to replace it. I just want to know the truth and if someone happens to have the diamond or knows where it is. He doesn't want to ask his friends that because he doesn't want to accuse anyone. Replacing that diamond makes me really sad. Do I have a right to press the issue, or should I just replace the ring? I'm having a hard time thinking that someone purposefully hid this and took the diamond. Scott doesn't want to press it any further, and that I'm just upset right now, and we don't want to offend our friends. I don't really feel like he has my back on this. My fault for leaving it out? What? Don't you dare blame yourself for leaving your ring on your nightstand in your home. That's completely reasonable and not irresponsible at all. It's ludicrous to think you'd need extra security in your own home. You are not wrong at all by pushing the issue. This was not an innocent accident. This was a deliberate action. It's past time to be concerned about hurting feelings. Someone mangled and tossed your ring, that they had zero reason to even touch, into the garbage. Until that person comes forward, none of those people can be trusted. I would suggest calling every person who was there for an in-person meeting and letting them know until there is an explanation for why your ring was found in the garbage and the main stone returned. None of them are welcome in your home. I don't know much about jewelry, but you would have to be the Hulk wearing steel-bottom shoes to destroy a ring that much just by stepping on it. Or have to fall off the top of the Empire State Building in order to damage it that much just from dropping it. Seems to me that someone deliberately smashed your ring in order to steal your diamond. That person must be the biggest idiot, because if you're going to steal something, why not just steal the whole thing and leave no evidence? That thought makes me think there's a sliver of a chance this might have been an accident, but I wouldn't hold my breath. I just want to know the truth and if someone happens to have the diamond or knows where it is. Unfortunately, I don't know how you're ever going to find out without a camera that recorded everything or searching through people's things. Why would someone voluntarily tell you that they stole your diamond? Maybe someone will tell on someone else, but I wouldn't count on it. You should start preparing yourself for the worst. He doesn't want to ask his friends that because he doesn't want to accuse anyone. I think approaching Caroline individually would be a good idea. You do not and should not accuse her of anything. You could say something like, "Hey, my wife's wedding ring was destroyed. We're just asking everyone there that night if they know anything about it. Do you have any information?" I would try to do this in person to gauge her reaction and facial expressions.